Welcome to T. Lokes, Tucson's local business podcast. I'm your host, L. Connor McEverly, and in each episode, we embark on a journey to connect with the passionate minds behind the businesses and nonprofits that make our community thrive. Join me as I sit down with the owners, visionaries, and change makers who pour their hearts into shaping the local landscape. We explore the challenges, triumphs, and unique journeys that define Tucson's business community. From the corner coffee shop to the innovative startups and impactful nonprofits, T. Lokes is your window into the diverse stories that make our city special. Tune in and get ready to get connected. This is T. Lokes. Howdy, folks, and welcome to T. Lokes, your Tucson local business podcast. I'm your host, L. Connor McEverly, and here with me via virtual chat today is the president and CEO of the Tucson Botanical Gardens, an award-winning, stunning, and lush oasis nestled in the heart of Tucson. It is my pleasure to introduce to the show, Michelle Conklin. Michelle, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Connor. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Thank you for being on the show. I'm super duper excited to talk to you today about the Botanical Gardens. I am a fan. You have a fan in me.
Oh, thank you. We love our fans. We love fans and we love people who are surprised who've never been here too. So we love those folks too.
Oh, absolutely. And it is a gorgeous, gorgeous place. I love to visit. It's a lot of fun. Folks, if you haven't, you should go. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the Botanical Garden. Can you tell us a bit more about the history, the mission, and kind of the activities of the organization?
Sure. So let's start with the mission. The mission is to connect people with plants through art, science, history, and nature. Yeah. So art, science, history, culture, that's fairly broad, but that's because we're on a historical property, which was really developed in 1929. A local landscaper and his bride moved onto the property, built their home, and started a family business called Desert Garden Nursery. And this little piece of property became quite the hubbub for the community. It was called Porterville. They had a cattle tank, which would water the grounds for the garden. Mm-hmm. Once a week. All the neighbors would get invited to the garden to clean out the bottom of the cattle tank, nice. Have a picnic, a barbecue, a meal together, fill it back up, and then all the kids would get to swim in it. So the stories I've heard from strangers actually walking in telling me that they used to swim in that cattle tank, it's phenomenal because it still happens to this day. I used to live down where the grocery store was. So back then, there was another group led by Harrison Yoakum, who started a garden club, just like many garden clubs in a community. Mrs. Porter joined the garden club. And there was always a way, they were always looking for a home. And they had many homes, Harrison's house, Reed Park Zoo area. And then finally, Mr. Porter passed away and Mrs. Porter donated the property to the Tucson Botanical Gardens with the caveat that she could live there until she passed away. Mm-hmm. And, in the 70s, it became Tucson Botanical Gardens, not quite the place it is today, but it became that little seed of Mrs. Porter's dream to turn her property into a public garden, which is really remarkable that someone had a dream and it actually came true in the way it's manifested today. So today we sit on about 6 acres, okay. Surrounded by a neighborhood. So we're an urban garden. And we have about 20 different pocket gardens within our garden. Okay. So it's designed in rather a residential scale, so you feel very much like you're walking room to room in some spaces. Right. On the property is an indoor tropical butterfly house. Yeah. We have a cafe, a gift shop, 3 art galleries, public spaces, education facility, a cafe that's phenomenal. And then, of course, we've got the cactus garden and the wildflower garden, and we have a chicken coop in the back and desert tortoise space. And there's, as you said, there's always something to do. And then, of course, we have rotating exhibits constantly in the galleries as well as on the grounds.
Wow. I mean,
it's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a whole lot. But I mean, I think one core thread or theme that's kind of run through the history is the involvement of the community around plants. I mean,
A lot of gardens, and I'm not going to say everyone, but there's a lot of gardens that are started by very wealthy people
Yeah.
who had mansions and gardens, and then they were gifted to the city or gifted to an organization. This garden was truly started by the community, by the Porters, Harrison Yoakum, the Men's Garden Club. All these groups came together to grow this space in this garden. So it really is. We've been kind of nicknamed the People's Garden sometimes. We have the most incredible plant collection, but we're also very much about people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, I think that's very clear with everything that the Botanical Garden offers. I mean, from art galleries, getting like local artists involved, having events for schools and people to come in and learn more. Like, the community is definitely a very strong cornerstone of the Botanical Garden, and it's very clear to see that
It
has been
is.
the dedication of so many people.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupt you. I get so excited about this,
Of
though,
course.
that when you talk about, when I applied for the job years and years and years and years and years and years ago,
Yeah.
um, they asked me if I was a gardener, and I'm really not a gardener. Love arts, I love culture, I love gardens. I've always visited gardens,
Right.
but it's easy to get a gardener to visit a garden. How,
Yes.
how difficult is it to get someone who doesn't care about plants or nature to come to a public garden? And so that's where we're using art and science and history and culture to inspire those to come here and care. We always believe that people don't take care of, don't protect, don't care about those things that they don't love.
Yeah.
So once you teach people to love and care, they'll start protecting.
No, totally, totally. That makes a lot of sense. I wanted to kind of touch back on something. You mentioned a little bit about, when you first like applied for this job or had this offer come your way. I'm interested to know, can you tell us a little bit more about like your personal journey with the Botanical Gardens and how you became CEO?
Sure. So my journey through my career has been kind of like a roller coaster ride, or a lot of roads that took me different places that all brought me to this botanical garden. So
Right.
my background was television sales and CFO for architecture and engineering firm, a law firm administrator, worked in banking, worked in insurance a little bit, had a personal background in music and theater.
Yeah.
But all of those skills really combined brought me to where I am today. And I started with the Botanical Garden back in 2002 as their membership development and marketing director, 3 jobs. We had
Nice.
700 members. If we had 12,000 visitors a year, that was a good year. And, we've grown over those years to, 6,300 households. And in the month of April alone, we may see 15 to 17,000 visitors.
Wow.
So it's really been an incredible journey to see the growth of the gardens, and the growth, and that sounds so boring, but to see people becoming more aware and getting excited about being a part of the gardens.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. And I want to touch on, you talk a little bit about some of these like highs and lows, or rather like the roads that brought you here, and a lot about the growth. I'm curious to know, what was one of your first moments, or maybe like a really standout moment of achievement for you, as the CEO of the Botanical Gardens?
I became CEO when the economy crashed, January 1st, 2009. People didn't know whether to send me a congratulations card or a condolence card. But I really looked at that as a huge opportunity because, times were tough. Botanical gardens, I think, rebounded last. Of course, social service agencies came back first, and then other cultural institutions, but gardens were certainly during that economy crash not high on the list.
Right.
And I knew that if we didn't do something drastic, it was not a sustainable business model.
Right.
So in 2014, we decided to build a new visitor center. And that doesn't sound exciting. And I knew that, but yet I also knew that the public needed to see something big and
Yeah.
something well done. And with that, I said we need to bring in a big traveling exhibit, the first one we ever brought in. So we had like 800,000 debt on our balance sheet.
Oh, wow.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was scary,
Oh,
scary
yeah.
times. And I went to the board and asked them if we could take out $100,000 loan to bring in Lego show.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the board is a visionary as well. So, they were building this building, and because they knew that something needed to happen to catapult us forward,
Yeah.
the board made the commitment to take out $100,000 loan
Mhm.
to sign the contract, which had for this Nature Connect exhibit. And the plan was to open it the day we opened our new building.
Right.
When that happened, the world changed. That was
Yeah.
the first big step of movement. We gained 1,000 new members. Within 3 months, we paid off our $100,000 loan. We paid off the construction debt that we had, and we had money in the bank for the first time in years.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was really transformational. The second time was bringing in the Frida Kahlo exhibit. That was another big leap where it was a risk. It was a show from the New York Botanical Garden, and it was a blockbuster there, but it arrived in a 54-foot freight truck in pieces with pieces missing.
Right.
And it was like how we have a staff that, New York's got a lot of gardens larger have curatorial staff and exhibit staff. And
Right.
we have our gardeners and our 3 facility staff.
Right.
But the whole team came together, as well as the community, Pima Community College. We brought in all these partners, as well as Scott Paska, a wonderful theater designer from New York, who also happens to live in Tucson,
Right.
who was involved in the New York exhibit. He opened his arms and said, "How can I help?"
Right.
And we pulled that off to the point where it was hit national news, and
Wow.
crowds came like crazy. And it showed people something different. It showed people completely something different. And it showed the public how the Tucson Botanical Gardens isn't afraid to take on big projects and can execute.
Right.
Not only execute, but execute to a level that when the New York Botanic Garden flew in, they were, oh, wow. So much so that they called us the next time and said, "We have another show. Would you like it?" So those kind of projects that can catapult you, they not only impact your community, but they spread your wings kind of in much broader ways.
Definitely. Wow. I mean, those are amazing achievements. And that's really amazing that, like, kind of through your guidance and taking some risks, that to see it pay off in such a big way and to keep seeing the community show up and help with your success. That's really profound. I mean, I had no idea. One, because I didn't live in Tucson, but I didn't know that the Botanical Gardens was ever in like a perilous place, and
Oh,
that,
and I hate to say that, but perilous. We weren't going to close the doors. There's always ways to make things work,
right.
but we were at a point where, should we close a program down? Should we tighten our hours? And people work at nonprofits because, of course, they have a heart for the mission.
Yeah.
The reality is everybody needs to pay their bills. You're working
100%.
to make a living, to build a life for your family.
Right.
And if we were going to grow our organization, which meant growing it staff-wise, elevating the professionalism, we have to think like a business, and you have to I took risks, but they were always calculated risks based on research,
Right.
data, and then a little bit of instinct, and
Yeah.
then a lot of support.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. And I think it's also amazing too that, like, not only have you garnered so much community support, but you're even getting like national eyes. I think you were voted at the number 4 botanical garden in the US.
USA Today's Best Botanical Garden, #4, and then the Canadian Garden Tourism Association voted us as one of the top 10 gardens in North America.
Wow.
That was our first, and that was a total surprise. Well, I think Reader's Digest did name us the best secret garden back in something like 2004, but to be recognized by the Tourism Board of Canada was just a real honor when I flew to Toronto and to get that award. It was amazing.
Totally. That's mind-blowing too. Like you brought so much attention and reverence that, Canada wanted to give you guys an award.
I know, and there are, in truth, amazing. There are over 700 botanical gardens across the United States. I sit on the board of the American Public Garden Association, which is the trade organization for that incredible APGA. But the gardens are amazing, and to say you're one of the top 4, really, there's many, many, many magnificent, incredible gardens. I look to them as who I want to be when we grow up. But the one thing I have discovered, because I travel a lot to gardens across the country,
right,
and I go to my favorite gardens, but Tucson Botanical Gardens is, when you're here on our property, you're in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
It has the culture, the feel, and the spirit of the community, whether it's through the tile work done by St. Teresa Tile Works or the art done by some of the local artists that are part of our permanent collection, the colors, the mesquites, the walls, it's just you get a flavor, which is what's so great about botanical gardens. When you go there, you get to see the geography, the flora and fauna of a community.
Yeah.
So our cactus and succulent is probably one of the best in the state and well labeled. But because we're historical, we can do things that others can't do, because half of the garden has plants that no one should plant in their backyard, but they're part of the history of the gardening in the Sonoran Desert. So we're 70% under shade cover, and we can grow daffodils in the spring and tulips, which Tucsonians were shocked that they grew in the ground and not in the grocery store.
Totally.
But it's really a marvelous, marvelous little place.
Absolutely. It really is lovely. Wow. That's a lot of great information and a lot of achievement. Howdy, listener. Are you also a podcaster seeking to stand out in the crowded audio landscape? I'm here to help. L. Connor Voice, LLC offers top-tier audio engineering, meticulous content management, and more, all tailored to save you time and elevate your podcast to new heights of professionalism. With L. Connor Voice, you can focus on what you do best, creating captivating content, while I handle the rest. Say goodbye to hours spent tweaking audio levels and managing uploads. I ensure your podcast shines with polished sound quality and seamless delivery. Ready to take your podcast to the next level? Contact L. Connor Voice, LLC today and make producing your podcast as easy as hitting record. For more information, go to lconnorvoice.com. Links are in the episode notes. And I kind of want to switch gears, maybe look at the opposite side of the coin now. What is maybe like a current problem that the Botanical Gardens is facing that most people wouldn't expect?
Well, I think it's climate change is really impacting the gardens.
Absolutely.
Water use. And, we are a public botanical garden, so our job is to display and to teach. And so when a visitor from Germany or Italy come to the gardens, we want to make sure that they are looking at healthy, living plants.
Yeah.
So our water bill is quite hefty.
Oh, I imagine.
A space is one of our personal biggest problems. We have opportunities and need for ad programming to service our mission, and I don't even have another office or a closet to put a staff member in. And so that's a real challenge. We are looking to expand our property and purchasing homes that surround our property. Right. So we have a 25-year master plan already drawn up on what those garden spaces would look like and how we could accommodate additional parking and still keep the flavor of the intimate garden spaces. We're also looking at sustainability for the future because in 100 years, that's the one thing about museums and symphonies and botanical gardens is that it's not like a corporation where you can sell, you can hand it down, you can close shop. I'm closing up the jewelry store, whatever.
Right.
These are here forever. They make up the fabric of your community forever.
Yeah.
And so we have to think in terms of forever. So we are getting ready to embark on an endowment campaign to protect that future. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's really interesting. I want to touch on something that you mentioned a little bit about, being in Tucson, some effects of like climate change. I'm sure all botanical gardens kind of like struggle with the seasons. And Tucson has some like brutal summers. And I'm curious, I would like to know, what is the Tucson Botanical Gardens approach to making the gardens enticing and inviting all year round?
That's a conversation that we have daily. Well, we are lucky in that, like I said, half of our garden is historical, and half of it is shaded. Although funny is that shade can create its own problems, plant collections. So we try to infuse color when we can. We try to bring in seasonal exhibits. So in the spring, you'll see the tulips, and right now our gourds are just about ready to pop. So we've got a fall feeling in some of the plantings that we're doing. Summer, that's the one thing is that there really is always something blooming at our garden, because in the summer you may have cactus. In January you've got the ocotillo, or some other, in January the grapefruits are ready to drop. So fruit trees as well. There's always something blooming.
Right. And that's the beauty of Tucson,
That is the beauty of Tucson. I mean, our gardener, led by Adam Farrell Wortman, he's our director of horticulture. He is the soil and the plant master. He's doing a lot of testing with some soil products to try to retain water. If that'd be an interesting topic for another podcast.
Totally.
But we water harvest in many different ways, both passive, water harvesting tanks, French drains, swales, things like that. But irrigation lines, got to keep them working properly all the time. We try, but that's, as even a homeowner realizes, that's a big challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Irrigation it's a challenge. It's convenient, but it has its challenges, right?
In my house, I pulled out the irrigation of the whole front and just went all native. But in a public garden, you can't do that.
Right.
You got to make sure your plants are watered and cared for.
Oh, absolutely. So I kind of want to open this question up. It's very broad. I've designed it to be that way, and hopefully it'll be kind of a fun question. So why, in your words, are plants important?
Why are plants important? I think the seed of life began with plants.
Absolutely.
The air we breathe, the food we eat.
Yeah.
We could not exist as human beings without plants.
Totally.
Human nature, just that word alone, human and nature goes together.
Yeah.
Not only for the way, it's human nature, but human and nature.
Absolutely.
Together can't exist humans cannot exist without nature.
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole chain, the whole chain of life, cycle of life requires plants.
That's right. Yeah. And I personally know I can't imagine even a world without botanical gardens, because many times those are the only places that people will be able to experience, interact with green spaces.
Right.
Or places that protect plants that are, no longer, they're cultivating plants, testing plants. Yeah. They just play such an important role in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. In the world in general, and with kind of like shaping a community as well, These are plants that most of the time, these are plants we see like every day.
Right.
And I think it's also really cool that you have plants around that you don't see every day.
That's right.
some more rare specimens.
And
So
when you talk about plants too, I mean, not only do they feed us, but they clothe us. I mean, medicinal. I mean, that we live because of the medicine that comes from plants.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
So kind of going off of that, what is an impact that you hope people walk away from the gardens with?
I hope they walk away with a feeling that number one, plants, trees, bugs,
Yeah.
butterflies, pollinators are important.
Yeah.
And I want this in my yard, or I don't want to lose this. I want to protect this.
Yeah.
Um, that to me is what I really hope they walk away with. I also hope they walk away with feeling, in a selfish reason, when they come to our garden, I want them to walk away feeling like they were welcomed, like they're welcomed and they want to come back.
Absolutely.
Because so many people they plan on coming here. It's like an event for them. They might they get the bug spray, they get the this, they get the that. They might pack a lunch because you can bring your picnic lunch, and
Yeah.
we're going to go there on this day, and I want them to have a great day when they get here.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that, and I can resonate with that when I visit. The garden is a very like calming and relaxing place. And it's a nice spot to go. I mean, in the center of Tucson, there's not a ton of green spaces, and like, there are some, we have parks and stuff, but like to such an extent, you get the beauty of seeing art, you get the beauty of seeing plants again that you don't really see all the time. And like the daffodils and like those spring flowers and stuff.
Right. When COVID hit, and I hate talking about COVID, but
Yeah.
it impacted us so much in such a wonderful, beautiful way
Yeah.
in letters that we received from community members telling us how much the garden meant to them emotionally,
Right.
how when their father had maybe one of their parents suffered from Alzheimer's, and they would take them here
Yeah.
on a weekly outing, or when they were going through a hard time, how much it meant to them just to be surrounded by nature.
Yeah.
Those stories I love. I also loved the fact that when we brought Legos in, there were some naysayers about, why are you bringing these plastic sculptures in the garden? It
Right.
brought all kinds of people who had never been here.
Yeah.
And then they said, the one woman was, I've never been here before. I love Legos, but I want to come back and take a class, and I want my garden to look like the Barrio garden. And I love cactus. And I mean, that's what made my day.
Yeah. I mean, that has to be really profound to see the impacts that the botanical gardens have on people.
Really
Um,
gratifying.
absolutely.
And then there's also the fun stories. So we have a holiday event, which is coming up, and I adore it. But I worked Christmas Eve because our manager got sick. And there were 3 proposals that night. But one particular proposal was a gentleman surrounded by his family, and his mother and father were married here. So you
Wow.
see full circle families coming here from. I came to the botanical garden as a child with a school group, and now I bring my children, and now it's beautiful. It's really
Yeah.
beautiful.
Absolutely. And I mean, I guess like that's also the beauty of like having this institution. Like it is an institution. It's been here for so long.
Yeah.
And has, stand the test of time. So I want to pivot a little bit again. And I want to ask, what are some goals that you are striving for now?
One of our one of I mean, right now I'm inundated and kind of washed over this mission to
Yeah.
build our gardens endowment.
Yeah.
That's primary, because without that, the gardens will not be able to grow and may not be able to sustain itself in 50, 100 years. You just don't know what's going to happen. And as good leadership, we need to be prepared for the future. And
Absolutely.
that's my goal. I'm planning shows through 2026, working on that. I mean, I have mental goals on where I see staff programming going, and we
Right.
have incredible staff, and we want to build on that. I want to be able to give them the tools
Yeah.
that they need and the resources that they need so they can do their jobs to the best of their abilities.
Right.
We support our staff in a number of ways, and I'm really proud of that. We send them to conferences. They're all members of the American Public Garden Association. If they go on vacation and they visit a public garden, they get a day's pay, and I reimburse them for their family's entry fees.
Yeah.
Because I just want them to experience gardens to the fullest and learn from everyone else, because we certainly don't know everything.
Right. For me, I love hearing that. I love hearing like uplifting your employees and inspiring them to get into the mission too. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that makes these institutions last longer, when you really support the community and the people within it, and the people who help make your nonprofit, your business thrive.
That's right. And I am so grateful to members and garden friends who support us. From anyone who gives a $5 gift on up, it doesn't matter, because every gift really does truly make a difference. And you think about somebody writing that check, or these days going online, with their hard-earned money, and that's really gratifying, and we appreciate it so deeply.
Absolutely. Well, Michelle, I have appreciated having all this time to talk to you. We are going to start wrapping up here, winding down. So I have a few more questions for you here.
Sure.
So for those who want to learn more about the Tucson Botanical Gardens, or hear more of your insights, or get involved, where can they go?
Well, they can start with our website, www.tucsonbotanical.org, or they can stop in on their next visit. If they want to volunteer, they can reach out. We have a volunteer application right online. Yeah. Or I always say that if you see a gardener or a staff person, just think of them as your neighbor. Stop them. We're always available to chat. That's absolutely for sure. If you become a member, then you get our fancy newsletter, which tells you everything, and all of our e-blasts to get you firsthand knowledge about what events or what's happening at the garden. So we really encourage folks to become members.
Awesome. Yeah. And folks, if you want to find those links or the address for the Tucson Botanical Gardens, take a look in the show notes and they will be there for you. So, Michelle, this is, we're recording this the beginning of October, but this episode's not going to launch until November 4th. With that in mind, do you have any events coming up in the near future that people should keep an eye out for?
Absolutely. The day after Thanksgiving, the lights go up and lights up. A holiday festival of illumination runs for about 41 nights, Tuesday through Sunday. And we've added some new features this year. And for those who are not familiar with it, it's only a 3-year-old event. This was another risky endeavor of the gardens. We hired a landscape architect who specializes in developing holiday shows for botanical gardens to create a real experience for our visitors. 7 different themes, 7 different artistic features, and it's really a very unique, elegant, beautiful holiday exhibit, stroll through the gardens. And then coupled with that, we've opened our Great Garden Train Express. And we took over almost, I think about a half-acre property, 3 levels of trains, 6 different engines that run. We have very specific hours for that train exhibit. Our train managers are on property all the time, managing those trains, making sure they don't go off track. And coupled with that train is a whole exhibit of Missions of the Southwest and national park architecture, all built in natural materials. This is not, I've told people about this, and they go, when they see it, they go, oh, you said it was trains, but I didn't know it was this. This is above and beyond, and it's beautiful. People may have seen this train exhibit at the New York Botanic Garden, at the Smithsonian, at the U.S. Botanic Garden, at numbers of gardens east of the Mississippi.
Wow, that's really exciting. Those sound like great events. And folks, again, if you want to learn more, there are links to the events page in the episode notes, so please go ahead and check that out. So, Michelle, this has been really great. Thank you so much for talking with me. I have one last question for you. One question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. What is one thing out of the many that you love about Tucson?
That I love about Tucson? I love the diversity.
Yeah,
I love it.
absolutely. I mean, it's just so diverse, environmentally, culturally,
Culturally,
yeah,
yes.
with cuisine as well.
Yes,
It's a really, I feel really fortunate to live in a place like this.
I do. And it's very welcoming too.
Absolutely.
And I really love that. The arts and cultural community.
Hmm.
I've never been in a community that has been so giving of their expertise, time. They share it freely
Yeah.
because they all know all boats rise. Is that the saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That was a lovely answer. Michelle, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great talking to you, more about the Botanical Gardens, how you've been a part of it, how community has really been the core of the gardens before it was even the gardens. So again, folks, if you haven't gone out there, get out there for sure. Number 4 in the United States. Come on. So Michelle, thank you so much and have a great one.
Thank you. See you at the garden.
See you at the garden. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap for another episode of T. Lokes, your go-to podcast for uncovering the untold stories of Tucson's local businesses and nonprofits. A big thank you to our incredible listeners for joining us on this journey of connection and discovery. I want to offer a huge thank you to Michelle Conklin for coming on the show today, telling us about the rich history of the Tucson Botanical Gardens, a little bit about her story in the gardens, the changes she's made over the past decade and a half, about the rich community that has collaborated in making the gardens what they are today, and how they give back. Show them some love and check out their links in the episode notes. A big thank you to Louis Sanders from Sound Monk Studios for composing the awesome T. Lokes theme music. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected with Tucson's vibrant business scene, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback is invaluable, and it helps us continue bringing you engaging conversations. As we wrap up, remember that T. Lokes isn't just a podcast, it's a community. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or our Discord channel and share your thoughts, suggestions, or even recommend a local business or nonprofit you'd like to see featured on the show. Thank you once again for being a part of the T. Lokes community. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep supporting the heartbeat of Tucson. Toodaloo.